You're on.
Okay, it's now 7 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 2nd meeting of the Board of Selectmen. I'd like to take a call of the roll, starting at my right.
Vaughn Morgan. Chester Duraki.
Paul Sanderson.
Jim Ralston.
Chip Hussey.
Okay. There was a promotional ceremony at 6:30 p.m. at the police department. I know for myself, I'd like to apologize. I didn't make it, but I couldn't get back in time. But certainly congratulations to Officer Bertoli and the whole department on that. Our next issue on the agenda was an appointment with our building inspector on a request to issue temporary occupancy permit. And we worked on that today, and we determined that the Board of Selectmen did not have a role in that particular decision, and so that matter was canceled. Next, approval of minutes for Monday, March 19, 2018. If people have had a chance to take a look at the minutes, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of Monday, March 19th, 2018.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Under old business, a Coakley update.
The only update I have right now is a reminder that this week is the public presentation, answer questions from the public at the Bethany Church, 6 p.m. on Wednesday.
That's that. Okay. And I know for myself, I won't be able to be there. I'm not sure, however, many other members of the board can be there. I will be. Okay, great. So that will be fine. And then we do know that tomorrow the legislature is going to be a busy day on Coakley issues. The Senate is going to be hearing some of those bills. House Bill 1766, which is the bill relating to the remediation plan. In the Resources and Recreation Committee in the House, they're going to be having a presentation on perfluorinated chemicals, and then they're also going to be dealing with a couple of bills there relating to drinking water and also contaminants in drinking water. So it's going to be a very busy day at the legislature for that. Other than that, I don't think we have any other particular update. We'll be waiting to hear what folks have to say on Wednesday evening. Other old business. Get down through all where we've gone so far. Nothing is appearing at all. Anyone have any items of old business they'd like to talk about?
I believe, how are we doing on the snow plowing?
I should have it next week.
Next week? Okay.
Put it off a little bit.
All right.
Okay, that'd be great.
Just one point on the 300th anniversary. We're meeting next Monday night at 6:30 here, and we're going to be looking at the logo winner and determine what we're going to do as far as selling doodads to help raise some money to put this on.
What's the date on that meeting?
Next Monday night, the 9th.
Yeah, that's what my calendar says. And before I forget, Karen, I've already forgot 3 times to ask y'all, call Summersville to see whether they got their flags for their poles, because they just put up, and I know they're not wealthy. So I know that's something we were looking for, flags for the poles, and I just noticed they put theirs out for the 125th.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And I can check
That's at 6 o'clock?
6:30.
6:30.
Stratum just did them last year too, and I can check with Stratum who the vendor is.
Yeah.
I just have one question. With regard to our land use boards, do we have anyone that signed up for the training from the Office of Strategic Initiatives?
We have one from the planning board, Katie Medeiros.
Okay, excellent. I know when I go to the planning board this Thursday, I'm going to try to get some more people to go. I think we have some real issues with training that would help. I know we have people who have some experience, but with a couple of things that have happened this week, we need to snap it up. We've got to do better. We have to do better. Training is the first way to get there. So let's see if we can encourage some people to go. Okay, new business. Review of the town administrator's report. Okay, you're on.
Oh, generally, it's if anyone has any points that they want questions on.
It's just, we have an unusual thing, we have an audience, so they don't know what
That's
you
true.
said.
All right, in my 2-week report to the board, I brought out LED on the buildings. We finished the conversion of all our streetlights. We're already seeing a significant savings in the electricity, and we're getting a lot of positive comments on how much brighter these intersections are. So I talked with the company about doing a survey through our municipal buildings to do the same thing, do an LED conversion in the municipal buildings. And there are grant opportunities for that as well. So that will be taking place next week. New copiers were installed on Friday. We were able to save money by turning in the balance of the lease on the old machines, which were being serviced out of Canon, directly out of their corporate office, to a Newington company that's working with us. There's no more charges for over our limit of 8,000 copies, which is wonderful because each year during tax bill time, we had a $300 or $400 extra charge based on the overcopy basis. And so that networking has been done. We're all kind of learning how to do some of the things again, but there's a lot more features and they're faster. The March 13th snowstorm, which our bill came in about $42,000 for it. The state Homeland Security has requested FEMA to approve it as a declaration due to the blizzard and the additional costs which were incurred because it was voting day. So if that gets approved, we may be able to recoup some of the 80% of those costs.
How did our budget stand up this year?
At this point, prior to adding in the 60,000 in there now, so we are 380. We've spent 380,000 of the 420.
Okay.
And we have November and December.
Mm-hmm.
So we're tight.
Good old New England, huh?
Yeah. I have submitted a grant to the Homeland Security for the fire department for the SCBA's. We've made it through the initial round, and in the third week in April, we'll be getting notice whether we've made it through the peer review section.
And I think I noticed in one of our manifests that we have already must have purchased the
No.
SCBA's. No?
No, what's in the manifest is the transfer. The authority was to withdraw the funds from the special revenue fund. So that all we're doing in this is withdrawing them from the special revenue fund, depositing it into the general fund.
Okay, to be ready for when they do get delivered.
Correct.
Okay.
And Hillside Ave, we're continuing to have drainage issues near the very bottom, near number 2. And what we're going to be looking at now is hiring a company. Well, the Underwood Engineers is contracting it for us, the company to camera the pipe that goes from the last catch basin on the right-hand side. It goes diagonal across. To camera that to see if there's a leak or break somewhere in that piping, because the center of the road is starting to really show signs of water underneath it, cracking, sinking. We did a dye test back, I don't know, a month or so ago now, at that top catch basin, and the dye did show up in the resident's basement. So we know that there's a hydraulic connection. So we're working on that.
Just a point of information here. You've got Hillside Ave drainage, but is it Hillside Drive?
Oh, up there, yes, it's Hillside Drive. It's Meadow Lane and Hillside Drive. It's at that. The catch basin is actually on Meadow, and it's, yeah, Hillside Drive. I'm sorry. And that's it.
Okay, and then there's noted in your report, we conducted the recount last Monday.
Yeah.
And it
Nothing
was
changed.
interesting. One way or another, I've been doing this since 1983. That was the first recount I ever participated in here. So that's how rare.
Right. I did one when I was school clerk back many years ago as well. But it was a good learning experience for everybody at the same time.
Yes. Okay, next item, tuition reimbursement policy and request.
Yeah, Chief Parent has requested approval of a tuition reimbursement for Sergeant Young. The policy is attached. And as they come in, then that money is encumbered for that person.
On a first come, first served basis?
Yes.
Mhm.
And this year, the budget has $2,500 available.
Okay.
I don't know here how much money he's requesting for this.
He is not saying how much. He hasn't even signed up for class yet.
Okay,
It just says he's planning to enroll.
okay. I guess personally, I don't at all mind a conditional approval, just waiting to see that he actually has enrolled and find out what the amount is. Because if it exceeds our budgetary amount, that would be an issue.
Right, it's 50% upon completion of the class.
Understood, just waiting to hear the amounts, but I certainly have no problem with a conditional approval.
I don't have any problem with that, no.
Okay, so with that in mind, a motion, please?
I move to approve tuition reimbursement for Sergeant Wayne Young according to the town's personnel policy.
And a second.
Condition on funds available.
Second.
Seconded by Selectman Durante. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Next is going to be current use releases for property at CV Way.
Yes. CV Way is the new 10-lot subdivision that's off of Breakfast Hill Road across from Stone Meadow. Two of the properties are being released now for current use that are scheduled for, one is scheduled for closing soon, and the other property is at about 80% complete. Based on the numbers that we used for the average land lots, and that we used for the lot just adjacent to CV Way of $175,000 value, the lots are being released at $17,500.
Okay, for that explanation, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the current use releases for 3 CV Way and 18 CV Way.
In the amount of $17,500 each? Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there's 3 pages to sign. Each of the releases, the 2 releases plus the tax collector's warrant. There's 3 other lots, I see the 3, 2 other lots have been released from current use. They'll be taxed at their full value for this first half, but they won't get their tax bill issued until the land is disturbed. They no longer qualify based on less than 10 acres on those 2 lots. Once we know that they don't qualify, which they do not now, we have 18 months to build. So generally, I try to work with the developer and bill close to the sale of the property so that the cash flow works well, as long as it's within that 18 months.
Okay.
At the top. I know, it's top then bottom, top then bottom. Now, Juan, you know, you're responsible now that I get these papers back.
I'll get them back.
Okay. Kevin
Are
had,
you talking to me?
I'm talking to
You
you. Kevin had trouble when he sat at that seat. He
I
took
know
them
he did.
home quite frequently.
Last one being signed. The next issue is we have 2 applications for veterans credit for 83 Boxwood Path and 30 Shore Drive.
Right, and we actually received one additional one that came in for 3 Sage Lane. the resident that also qualifies, and his is for the all veterans credit as well. The deadline for applying was April 1st, so that's why we're seeing a little flurry.
Okay,
But that'll be all for the 18s.
and you've reviewed all of these and they qualify.
They qualify. One is a regular veterans and the other two are all veterans.
I have a question though.
Mhm.
The second one,
Yep.
date of entry, December 3rd, 2016.
Correct.
Date of discharge, March 12th, 2017. It's
Yep.
only in for 3 months.
Yep, 90 days is the minimum.
This wasn't just active duty for training because
No,
I
this
couldn't-
was active duty. Yeah. And I had all the paperwork to go by, and he also received the Air Force Expeditionary Service Medal and the active duty Operation Inherent Resolve.
Was he in the
What?
reserve or something? Or just a little confused with that. How we got,
We'll get you in a second.
Just an answer to his question, I think.
Yeah, it was reserved, but then that's active duty.
okay. All right.
Probably went on, it was a reserve, so it was activated for deployment.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion with
It's
respect?
actually his second activation. The last time was like 83 days, and he says, I missed it.
Okay, I make a motion to approve all the veterans credit in the amount of $500 for the resident 83 Foxwood Path, and the veterans credit in the amount of $500 for the resident at 30 Shore Drive.
And then we'll add 3 Sage Lane.
All veterans run on that, right?
Yep, all.
You're adding 3 Sage Lane.
Do what?
You're adding 3 Sage Lane as well to that. That's-
Okay, and 3 Sage Lane.
Second.
We have 3 that have been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Send these down for signature.
Why is one green and the others?
Because the others are printing them out at home,
Oh,
because the state has put the forms online as well. So I have green forms here. I just copy it on green paper because it's always made it easier for me in my files. But if they print it out at home, then
very good. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's finishing up. Next is an application from the resident of 511 Portsmouth Avenue for an elderly exemption.
yeah, and this resident qualifies based on age, income, and assets.
Does anyone have a motion with respect to this request for an elderly exemption?
I move to approve the elderly exemption level 1 for the resident of 511 Portsmouth Avenue.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Put that in the signature. Out here.
And you may note that the application isn't signed, but the resident had brought his application in all signed. And I filled out the application for him after he had left, the technical paper. And that deadline is also now passed for 2018.
Okay.
Oh, slow down, you're gonna beat my record here.
We got to tip off.
I'll let you sign. Because the next one's gonna need a little more discussion.
There you go ahead.
Okay. This is a request for an abatement from Northern England Telephone, DBA Fairpoint Communications. The assessor has recommended granting an abatement in the amount of $6,755 plus interest, and that the town update their poll licenses to include language from 7223. Now, my question is, this is an issue that's been going on for years.
Yes.
I am not sure that we haven't modified our poll licenses.
We modify them each as they come in one by one. We have not held the public hearing to do a blanket.
We did do a global one 5 years ago.
I don't believe so.
Just memory serves, because that was back at a time, I think I was on the board and we were working on these issues. I'm pretty sure that we did do a global poll license upgrade. I'm not positive.
Yeah, I looked back in it. I don't believe it happened. I think it was brought to the board. There were questions. It was, we're not sure. Let's wait and see what Fairpoint happens. The whole stuff was all in a flux. So this is, we had not taxed for the land anyway.
Okay.
7223 was passed last year to say that for telephone you couldn't charge for the land, which we have never done. So that was fine. But it's based on the inventory now of the poles.
Yeah.
And the pole values are all established by how old they are.
Are we required to use the stakes method?
No. But we're required to go by the inventory of assets supplied by the taxpayer.
Okay.
And Todd agreed with him. Todd did the numbers and came out with the same number they did.
Okay. I think this probably warrants a little explanation because we've been talking in code, you and I.
Right. Northern New England Telephone, otherwise known as Fairpoint Communications, is the phone provider. For many, many years, the only thing that was taxed for telephone poles, even though they were called telephone poles, was the electric companies. They were taxed for the poles, the conduit, the wires, the airspace that they used. And then as cable came in, telephone came in, they all attached to the very same poles. So towns started charging, some towns started charging the very same thing they were charging to the electric company, to the telephone company for the same poles, same conduits, because they were operating the same space. That went to court, has been in court and been in court and been in court for double taxation threats, things that telephone communications doesn't fall under the same regulations as electricity. Every argument that I've heard of has been brought up and up and up. Greenland has never taxed the land under it for the telephone companies. All we've taxed is their share of the pole and their connections, based on the inventory that they're required to submit to us. You know, they're on, 172 poles and they have this many feet of conduit. So that's how we've calculated it. When the law passed last year, you had to depreciate the poles, which we hadn't done. Our assessor had had caught it, he had sent an email out, but then never got back to, and that was actually, when did he do it? I don't have his original email, but when he had done it and calculated, it was much too close to September 1st. We had already done our MS1. We couldn't go changing values. It was too late for 2017. For 2017. So we expected this abatement was going to be filed because we taxed it higher than we should have. But once we submit the values in, it's a world of hurt to try and change them before your bills go out.
Okay, so what's important here is that the interest that we're really taxing are given to these companies as a matter of a license. They have a right to be in the public right of way. And so that whole license now has to be updated so that it indicates that the holders of that license are obligated to pay real estate taxes. Okay.
Right, and we've been billing Fairpoint for 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. This abatement is easy to settle because it was based on the statute that was finally passed. There are still 4 years of abatements out there pending that we have Donahue, Tucker, and Chandela working on as a joint lawsuit. We're joined in with, I think we have 28 towns with them. So our legal bills, I think there's one in this manifest for $65. We're all sharing that because prior to this statute, Fairpoint sued saying they shouldn't be taxed at all, and everybody taxed them because there was an exemption that expired.
Right. But at this point, what we now need to do is go through the process and update all of our licenses.
Okay, we'll do that. We have to put a newspaper posting in and hold a public hearing, and then we notify them that.
We also need to work a little bit on our subdivision regulations to make sure that any of the new installations, that we're not just automatically signing licenses.
Right.
We don't always have to have a license if it's been approved by the planning board.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to make sure that our regulations note that, and that if we approve a utility installation in the planning board, that it in fact is going to be subject to property tax for the underground. So
Okay.
we need to get those 2 items taken care of. We don't need another abatement. It's probably more detail than anyone needs to know, but
But I'm on it.
okay. But the other part of it is that these companies have been using the public's right-of-way unfairly for well over 100 years. One of the really dangerous things that they do is they put things up in the air and they don't notify local municipalities as to what's there. So when that pole comes down and a first responder comes there, they have no idea if that wire is live or dead. They have no idea whether it's just got a tiny bit of electricity in it for telephone or whether it's an electric transmission line. So it's an important issue and one where the companies have done an enormous disservice to the municipalities for years. And that's both the electric company and the telephone company jointly. Here, because we have a Fairpoint garage, or consolidated garage, I guess it is this week, then they are in charge of primary pole maintenance. Okay? And that's usually worse because they generally do a much worse job than the electric company does throughout the state. So it's not been a very good result for municipalities for a long, long time. Okay, too much. Next, anybody
Now we
have?
need the motion.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve an abatement in the amount of $6,755 in interest in favor of New England Telephone DBA Fairpoint Communications?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's approved. Any other new business? Not appearing. Moving on to our various manifests.
Make a motion to approve manifest number 1, accounts payable for the Special Police Revenue Fund dated April 5th, 2018, in the amount of $58,486.50.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Make a motion to approve manifest number 3, accounts payable for the ambulance special revenue account dated April 5th, 2018, in the amount of $154,898.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And just to reiterate, that is the $3,000 for the billing expenses for ambulance, along with the SCBA money as voted at town meeting to withdraw from the special revenue fund. So they're just being transferred into the general fund for now. And then after the SCBA's, based on whether we get the grant or not, anything remaining will then reply to the special revenue fund.
Okay. Make a motion to approve manifest number 3, accounts payable fire and safety revolving fund dated April 5th, 2018, in the amount of $206.68.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That do it?
No, at least we get one massive one.
Okay, I shouldn't do that.
I move we approve the attached manifest number 7 of unpaid bills detail as of April 5th, 2018, in the amount of $575,617.94.
Noting that 160,000 of that is the Greenland School.
Yeah, 160 is the school. The other major amounts are, after town meeting, if you appropriate from the surplus, you have 30 days to transfer those funds to the trustees of the trust funds. So there's 195,000 being transferred for the roads, and all the various ones that were 20 here, 25 there, that because they're coming from surplus, generally we transfer funds at year end, but surplus ones only have 30 days. That the cash flow is fine.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Please go on, mind you.
I know. It's not mine, so it's all right. It's more politicians say. All right, I move we approve attached payroll number 7, pay date April 5th, 2018, for the period of March 19, 2018, through and including April 1, 2018. Amount excluding payroll liabilities is $50,164.12.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that signs?
All right.
Check your refrigeration.
Okay.
Why it's sucking so
Taking
much.
care of manifest. Does anyone else have any other issue they'd like to bring before our meeting? Anyone?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned and you can turn it on.
Yep, you're right, I can.
Watch
Yeah,
the
there's
smoke
been
come
train.
out.
Wow.
And Marissa, you have most of your evening left.
Yes.